You are listening to the Global CTE Podcast with your host, Sylvester Chisom.
Welcome, my friend, to another episode of the Global CTE Podcast. I am Sylvester Chisom, your host. This is the place where we like to shine a bright light on people who are doing the work, the best, the brightest, the movers, the shakers, the innovators who are really pushing education forward and trying to prepare our students for success in the global marketplace. Today, we are really in for a treat. I have the entire, well, not the entire, but some of the wonderful leaders of the math department from Evanston Township High School in Evanston, Illinois. I have my good friend, Dale Leibforth here, and Dale is the math department chair. I have Erin Slade here and Maryjoy Heineman. Listen, we're in for a treat, okay? So first, let me tell you about Dale. Dale graduated from ETHS in 1993 and started working there in 1997. After spending 17 years in the classroom, he spent the last 10 years serving as math department chair. He also serves as the early college success manager, working with their dual credit and AP programs. Recently, Dale received the 2023 Illinois Council of Teachers of Mathematics Leadership Award. This is why he brought two of his rock star educators here, Erin Slade, who teaches algebra and entrepreneurship, as well as algebra and coding and data science. Maryjoy Heineman, listen, she's teaching geometry and construction. I cannot wait to dig into that and learn more about the great work that she is leading as well. So, guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can interrupt.
Excited to have you all on the show. And some people may be thinking, well, why do we have a math department on the show? And it really is because the connection to career success and making math real for students, I really feel like ETHS is one of the bright spots across the country that's leading this work. And I have the pleasure of working with you guys over the last 5 years or so through the course. I work with Erin and my guy Chris over there with the algebra and entrepreneurship. But Dale, as the department chair, man, talk to me about your thought process in creating these courses or having these courses available that are really on the front end of innovation with math and career success.
All right. Well, as you said, thank you for the introduction and for your work with our school. It's been an integral part of the success of our algebra and entrepreneurship class, which I'm sure Erin will talk more about. But I taught here at Evanston for 17 years after going to high school here. And when I was a teacher, I always tried to bring kind of the real world into the classroom and find ways to do that. I think the first day of my first class ever, we brought in some tennis balls and we were trying to figure out how many tennis balls can we fit in this classroom, and why would we maybe even need to know that for our future. And every time I was teaching a lesson in class, I would try to bring data from the outside or have a hands-on activity or to make it exciting. I mean, math is a beautiful subject. There is a lot of context. Math is everywhere. So how can you bring that into the classroom? And right as I was transitioning into being department chair, and I'll let Maryjoy talk more about it, but we started a collaboration with our CTE department with our geometry and construction class. And I'll let MJ highlight that in a little bit. But based on the success of that class, we tried to look for other ways that we could combine, specifically with our CTE department and our math department. That course was so successful. We said, what else can we do? What about algebra? We have students who take algebra in 8th grade and sometimes come to our school and take algebra again. And some of them were having difficulty with that subject. So how can we get them excited about it? So Shelley Gates, the CTE chair, and myself said, and kind of drew a light bulb on the board, which is still the symbol for the course, and said, what about entrepreneurship? I think I was really into watching Shark Tank back then. So, how can we mix kind of business, entrepreneurship, this idea that you can fail and pick yourself back up? How can we do that in the math classroom? And so we developed algebra entrepreneurship. That class was successful. We started to look for for other ways. So we have algebra and coding now, where you bring coding into the classroom and build that computer science or info tech kind of mindset. We have geometry and intro to engineering design, where we're connecting with our CTE department and their Project Lead the Way program. We created STEAM design thinking and innovation and data science, which are transdisciplinary. So how can you do mathematics in a different way? How can you bring the real world into the classroom? How can you make sure kids aren't saying like, when are we ever going to have to use this? Because you're proving it to them every day. And so I think we've tried to create different looks at math. We still have algebra, geometry, algebra 2, pre-calc, calc, statistics. We still have those courses, but how can you also build in other opportunities to, kind of specifically collaborate with our CTE department, or at least look at the kind of future careers, 21st century skills that we want students to have, after traveling through our math pathway.
Outstanding. I love your sharing and really trying to make it real for the students. And do you feel like that helps to get more engagement from the students, like to get them more excited about math as a subject matter when you connect it to geometry and construction, or algebra and entrepreneurship, or the data science courses? I'm curious your thoughts.
I mean, I think so, and probably the teachers can jump in here too. But I mean, those classes are, if you're building a house, it's definitely more active. But you see, even the classrooms that we have them in look different. Like we made a classroom for algebra and entrepreneurship that looked totally different. Technology in there, glass on the walls, movable furniture. So there's a lot more movement and activity and group and project based kind of looks to it, versus a math classroom that we also have very innovative teachers in just a traditional algebra 2 class. But in these classes, you can see students working together, using collaboration, communication, working on a project, working to build something, working on their business, with real money. So sometimes just that kind of realness to it, data science, bringing in data from our community and looking at that, really speaks to the students. It gets them actively engaged and excited, and offers a lot of choice for the students. I think in many of the classes that I mentioned, the students have choice as to what they want to study, what they're passionate about. And I think anytime we can do that, and I'm not saying that all of my 38 teachers don't do that in all of their classes, but I think it perhaps is easier to do in some of these classes that have a little bit more openness in their curriculum and what they're trying to do.
Absolutely. I know you have a rock star math department, and just for context for anyone who's listening, the educators we have on here today are just a couple that are connected with these courses that touch the careers in a very direct way. Geometry and construction. Maryjoy, talk to me the origin of this course. Like, give me something here.
Okay. So in, I believe it was the summer of 2012, right before school let out, Matt Kaiser, one of his other fellow CTE colleagues, and then myself and two other math department folks did a workshop. The originators of the program came to our area and actually held a panel discussion or something like that for department chairs, and talked about this geometry and construction course that they were doing, which essentially started from a conversation that they had in their car. They went to a conference together, they came back from that conference, and in that conversation, they were trying to figure out, like, how do we get kids really into math and engaged with math? And then also, like, how do we save our CTE program? And so from that conversation came this geometry and construction class, where they were first building homes for, and I'm forgetting the name now, but it was for a group where you would build a house for someone who could temporarily live there as they were trying to get back on their feet. And so that was their first home. And then after that, they built a relationship with their local Habitat for Humanity. And so what was neat about that relationship was that their Habitat required the families who were going to live in that house to come and work on their home. They had a certain amount of hours to work on their house. So kids could actually possibly interact with the families that would be living in the home they were working on for the year. So I think that really already brings that real world context, and that it isn't just I'm just doing a project that's sort of a thing I do at school. It very much affected the people that were right in front of them. And so when when our departments were each offered the opportunity to go to this 1 week summer workshop, 5 of us went, and the chairs at the time were Shelley Gates for the CTE department and Peter DeCrane for the math department. And they came and asked us, like, what do you think? And we said, this is definitely the best PD I've ever been to, and we need to do it. And if we can, let's build a house. There are hundreds of geometry and construction programs throughout the country. I believe there's even at least one country internationally that has been trained. I don't know the update of how they're running the program there, but in the US, hundreds of schools are running a geometry and construction program, but they can't necessarily all build a home. They might not have the space or the resources. We are lucky enough that when Matt and I got to present about geometry and construction in the year leading up to the course actually going live, Shelley Gates did this wonderful thing of gathering people from the community who she thought could be real stakeholders in the program. And Matt and I went and visited Colorado, went out to Loveland High School, and went to the home base of where everything was essentially written and invented and put together for their program, and came back with what we found. And so we have strong partnerships from that first meeting with Evanston Lumber, who Bob Fisher has been so vital to us, even just getting materials at a reasonable cost to build homes. And the homes we're building are affordable homes for our Evanston community. So, you know, they are homes that will stay in the community forever. So the fact that he's even a part of that is so wonderful, and he believes in the program and has come out to even help us build the houses from time to time. The city of Evanston jumped in on it, so that's how we have a partnership, and we figure out where do these houses go. The Community Partners for Affordable Housing, we call them CEPA. They help with the sale of the home. They figure out, how do we sell an affordable house? Who qualifies? What are the courses that they need to take? What application do they need to fill out? And that's just some of the folks that were from there that really have impacted just even the start, getting the course started in the building. I don't think Matt and I could have done all of that on our own. And we were lucky in that we were tasked to just be responsible for teaching our students, like teaching the students in front of us, and that all that other stuff, the sale, you know, like building a partnership with the city, all those things were taken care of by so many people at ETHS that, like, it really, there was so much excitement for it that I think that meeting could not have gone any better. And so here we are. Our first course was 2013, 2014, and now it's our 2023, 2024 school year, and we're working on our next affordable house. So that's how it started.
That's outstanding, Maryjoy. And so that was the first house. How many homes have you all built today so far?
Matt and I were counting, and we are building our 9th affordable house this year. So we had a little bit of a stoppage during COVID time, those first years there, but we're working on the 9th house this year with our students.
That's outstanding. And the students are involved in that entire process of building that home.
Yes, they come to school, and we have a lot that we build on at school. There's nothing on it when they arrive, and they really just start from the beginning. And so we order lumber, we order nails, we order floor joists, and they're out there, they build it from the ground up, essentially.
Now, take me to the math connection for someone who's listening. Is like, oh, that's great, they're building a home. So, but the students are they getting more excited about math? Are you seeing a deeper understanding of geometry from teaching it in context of construction?
I'm gonna say first, yes. And what's neat about the course is that I have the flexibility to teach geometry in a different order. So whenever it is meaningful to do similarity or it's meaningful to do area, those are two traditionally chapters that end up in the second semester of a traditional geometry course. We teach those up front because some of the first skills the kids have are looking at a blueprint and trying to figure out, okay, if this is drawn at a scale of a 1/4 inch equals a foot, what is that actually in real life? What am I actually building? So, talking about like, well, yeah, the pictures of the home have to fit on standard size pieces of paper. We're not going to print them out to their full size. So using similarity to do that, using area to figure out the square footage of a home, to figure out the plots of land that we're looking at. We look at a lot of right triangles in the roof trusses of the home, even down to they're working on building the exterior walls of the home right now. And so how do you know when you've built a wall that is in the shape of a rectangle and not a parallelogram? So how do we get those right angles at each of the corners? And so there's math in that, and they catch on, that plus actual building skills. Most students don't come in with any building skills whatsoever. And so it's really nice to be coaching them through all of that and have something exciting like building a house for the community.
That's outstanding. And they have skills that they can take with them along with the geometry knowledge. That's amazing.
I just found out that one of my old students, he has a job in construction management. He went to school for construction management. And actually his mom's in the building. She's a fellow ETHS colleague, and her son has a construction management job. That's what he went to college for. And so that's just so exciting. I didn't know that. I don't think he knew that as a freshman in my class, but definitely piqued an interest for him.
Yeah, I thank you for sharing that, Maryjoy, because I like to think about it's important. It's our job, high school, middle school, is sooner the better, where we can expose our youth to different career opportunities so they can see themselves in the work. And so that's so amazing that in my geometry class, I saw my future self in that as a student that you just called out right there. That's outstanding. I know that has to make you feel good.
Yeah, it feels great. It feels great. And those, because we see them as usually mostly freshmen in our class, we have some sophomores, because I don't teach the upper level classes, sometimes I don't know where they're going to go, what they're going to do, unless they come by and see me or send a note. So I treasure every bit of information I get about what they're up to, and especially if they are pursuing a career in construction or even math. Some kids are like, well, in my class, I learned that I was actually I have a math mind, and I actually saw a student this summer who came up to me. I was at Who's Your Mama Pie, which I would highly recommend, Sylvester. And he came up to me and he said, I don't know if you remember me. And I said, of course I do. He's like, but I'm in college for math, and it's because of your class. So, I mean, how cool is that? And it just keeps me going.
Okay. I love it. I see, Dale, I'm starting to see why the Illinois Council of Teachers of Mathematics recognize the work you and your department are doing there. So hats off to you all for that. And thank you so much for sharing, Maryjoy. Erin, my friend, my buddy, let's talk about it, like algebra and entrepreneurship, and then now also algebra and coding and data science.
The best teacher schedule ever. And
You know what? Let's talk about that. That's an interesting perspective. What does that feel like as a math teacher this is your course schedule?
it is. I started with teaching algebra and entrepreneurship with my co-teacher, Chris Manila. One thing I learned early in that process, and this is maybe the connection that I have with Maryjoy, who teaches geometry and construction, is it's an opportunity for students to have access to career tech courses they would not have had access to before, because oftentimes education just values math, science, the core content areas over some of the career tech. So it's kind of a creative way to give more students access to more CTE classes. So it began with algebra and entrepreneurship, where students learn algebra 1 through running businesses, eventually their own student-led startup. And our class was able to be created because of the success with geometry and construction. And it was like, hey, algebra 1 is our lowest level math course. These students need more connection to school. They need to see math in a different way to start their high school trajectory and having enjoyment and success in math classes. Then actually more recently, so that course was 2015. And then more recently, my partner in crime, my co-teacher, Jody Alperstein, brought algebra and coding from a program called Bootstrap Algebra to ETHS. So they are also learning one algebra. Now we have options in one algebra, but instead of learning entrepreneurship, they are learning algebra through coding a game, and they create a kind of a simple as in it's a learner's coding language, and they're creating a game throughout their whole Algebra 1 experience. So in algebra and entrepreneurship, when we learn, say, how to graph a line, instead of graphing just y equals mx plus b, for math people out there, they are tracking their sales on a class business, and that is the line that they're graphing. Whereas in algebra and coding, if we're learning something like coordinates on the coordinate plane, the coordinate is where they place their character in the game and how the character moves as they accomplish their goal. And then also added on this year, my data science course. Data science started last year, ETHS. It's a course created by Stanford, actually. Work from Joe Bowler and a whole lot of industry people. So there were people from Airbnb, people from Amazon on the team creating this course, data scientists and other fields at those companies, of what students need to learn in high school, which is how to look at data, how to analyze data, be able to be a critical thinker about data we see in the world. And in connection with that, there's also coding in the class, machine learning, and all kinds of career tech skills that are in the math department realm.
Erin, talk to me a little more about this this data science course that was founded by the people, like you said, started from Stanford. And give me an example of a lesson or something that you all are working on.
Would love to. So founded by Stanford and then brought last year by my colleagues, Sarah Applebaum and Neva Curry, also on the team, Niraj Javia. Everything's project-based. So that's pretty similar to many of our CTE courses, which this is actually the first time in the math department I've taught I guess algebra and entrepreneurship too, but it's fully project-based. Every unit is working through a project in a group. So you get those 21st century skills. Our most recent project, students were tasked to enhance the ETHS community. So students had to survey and talk to students in ETHS on a problem that they think students are facing. So I had a lot of students investigate different things. One example being mental health and how students are experiencing mental health stress within the building. So they collected data from their peers. They then had to analyze, create models and visualizations for the data. And it all ended in a showcase where we invited all the administrators, social workers, counselors, safety department, every key group in the building, so they could hear from students about what they're facing. But like math wise, they were also talking about graphs and box plots, bar charts, all the different types, and how to represent and not only have a voice and opinion, but how to back it up with the data and the math.
Listen, wow, I'm just so blown away right now from everything that I've heard from Erin, from Maryjoy. Like, this is the experiential learning and the what you just said, the community connection there. Like, you're taking the math class, you're connecting math with mental health. Like, it's even beyond like just interdisciplinary. Like, there should be another word for this.
Trans-disciplinary.
I always call it trans-disciplinary. There you go. We made up a
Sales
word
word.
here at Evanston for it. Trans-disciplinary. You heard it here first.
You heard it here
Transcends
first.
all disciplines.
Yes, I love it.
And
Dale, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Aaron. Go ahead. Go.
I was just gonna say it's even beyond disciplines. Like our next unit is in data science, exploring water issues, equity in water issues. And students are then going to have their final result be sending their blog post to senators and local lawmakers, which so it's beyond just disciplines. I think the work in a lot of our ETHS classes is, solving world issues.
I love it. A transdisciplinary approach to math. I think that may be the title for this podcast episode. Here, Dale, I know someone who's listening is like, how do I move something like this forward in my school or in my district? Talk to me about that process, getting buy-in, the importance of collaboration as a department chair, working across disciplines, trans-disciplines.
Yeah, I think it starts with just kind of the philosophy of the chair. I talked about as a teacher, I tried to bring it in the classroom. And so I brought that to, as I became chair, how can you reach beyond your department, right? What else is going on in other areas of the building? I mean, the career and tech area is amazing, right? Look at the stuff they're doing over there. And how can you bring that? I walked into intro to engineering design classroom and they're doing geometry. Like, that's geometry. We just taught that in geometry and kind of like, we're going to do 3 problems today, and we're doing it in context. So, I think just kind of looking beyond your department, seeing how you can reach out, whether it's the CTE department or another department in the school, but how can you look at what other people are doing and kind of bring that in your department. We're very fortunate here at Evanston. I got 38 teachers, a huge teaching team. They're all amazing, right? They all are doing super creative things in their classroom, right? We all have a lot of resources here. So we have the ability to kind of create courses. We can build houses. We can have businesses with real money. We have, Northwestern University right next door and a lot of like community partners that we can bring into the building and help us with our courses. So we have a lot of advantages here. We have the ability to build a data science course. We have the ability to build algebra and entrepreneurship, geometry construction. Some schools are smaller or don't have those same resources. So a question is, how can you have a unit beyond algebra and entrepreneurship? So if you can't make the course, how can you do it? Many of the things that we do, many of them cost money, but many of them don't. You can do them for free. So you can bring that into your classroom. You can at least bring the philosophy of like, I'm preparing you for a career. I'm preparing you for your future. So what are the types of skills? How do we want to work with each other? How do you want to bring in multiple perspectives? Those are things you can do even in a kind of a more traditional math class. So if you don't have the ability at your school to like create a course, you can build a unit in. You can build the philosophy that kind of underlies what we're trying to do. So I think look for opportunities within your school, outside of your school. Build a course if you can. If you can't, look for places within the courses that you have to really bring in some of these ideas. Data science, we decided to make it a course. We look at our math pathway. Algebra 2 is a barrier for students. Calculus is a barrier for students. We're in a very diverse high school. It's a barrier for our students of color. And across the country, that's also the case. It's why Joe is doing a lot of work in California, and we're leading, the state and the Midwest in terms of data science and having that be a part of the pathway. Of students can now take algebra, geometry, data science, stats. Like, how can we make that a situation, 90% of the world data came about in the last 2 years. So that data, we see data every day. Before you jumped on this podcast here, I'm sure you were looking at some data on social media or somewhere out there. But how many times did you solve a log, which is great. We need to know how to do that too, right? But how do you really use that? We've decided to do that because we want to kind of disrupt the pathway and disrupt some of the inequities that we're seeing. But other schools are deciding to just weave data science into all of their courses, and that's math courses and other courses. So I think the message is, if you can't build a course at your high school, which I think you can, and we're happy to kind of help to give you some guidance along that way, but you can bring this into any classroom, even beyond the math department. You can bring these ideas and philosophies into the math classroom. So that's what I would recommend for people that are excited about what we're talking about today.
Outstanding. And I don't even have to mention it because you just did the equity piece. I'm like, I really see that in action, that you're helping to break that barrier, like you said, of people who may be struggling with some of these courses, but now you help personalize it, make it real and experiential, and now they get excited about it and start careers in construction management, like Maryjoy's student has gone on to do. ETH family, thank you so much. I really love you guys. The work you all are doing is so important, and I'm excited that you all took the time to share this innovation, the way you're connecting careers and math, and really thinking about math in context of with this transdisciplinary approach to math and career success. Listen, if you enjoyed this podcast, please don't be selfish. Share it with a friend, share it with your superintendent, share it with the district next to you. This is the way, this is the future of education. It should look more like this. Before we go though, Dale, Erin, Maryjoy, does anyone want to lift up? If someone's interested in trying to connect with you guys to learn more, what is the best way to do that?
Probably email's best. I think we're all open to, we've done presentations, we've collaborated with other districts. So email is best. So you can go onto our website, Evanston Township High School, just Google us and you can find our emails on there. And that would probably be the best way. And Sylvester, before we sign off, I do have to give you a shout out. The work you've done, with our algebra and entrepreneurship kids has really been super impactful. The kids always talk about how you come in and you really care for our students and you try to make that connection whenever you're with them, whether it be virtually or in person. I think our course wouldn't be where it is today without you. And I think that's an important kind of critical piece of that particular course team. And we try to do that in other areas, but I just wanted to lift up your work with our students has been incredibly impactful and really makes our program what it is today. So thank you for that. And thanks for having us on here. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. You guys are going to try to make me cry here on the podcast. If you're listening on audio,
Sylvester.
Thanks, Erin. Thank you so much. Well, that does it, friends. Thank you all for listening. Like I said, please share this podcast episode with a friend or with a colleague in education so we can move this work forward to help better prepare more students for future success. Until the next episode, remember, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Global CTE Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to be the first to know about future episodes.